In 1977, while Star Wars was reshaping Hollywood forever, a San Francisco filmmaker was quietly making something just as radical, a film so subversive, so structurally bold, that censors would spend decades trying to bury it. Babyface wasn't just a genre film. Critics would later call it a real-world Alice in Wonderland for the Porno Chic era. Every power dynamic flipped, every social rule inverted. But the story of how it almost disappeared entirely is stranger than anything on screen. For 30 years, the only versions of Babyface in circulation were heavily censored cuts. Entire sequences had been removed by nervous distributors. The original 35mm vault elements were considered permanently lost. Most people who claimed to have seen Babyface had never seen the real film at all. And when those elements were finally recovered, what audiences discovered wasn't just a missing film, it was proof that Alex de Renzy had been operating on a completely different level than anyone realized. To understand why, we need to understand the man himself. Alex de Renzy's path to filmmaking was unlike any of his contemporaries. He served in the United States Air Force. He dealt cards in Nevada casinos. He studied zoology at the University of Nevada. Then, in 1964, he moved to San Francisco and became a news cameraman at Gordon News Films, using their equipment after hours to begin making his own short films. He was not a film school theorist. He was a craftsman who learned storytelling by doing it in the streets. By the time he opened the screening room, his own theater in San Francisco's Tenderloin district, deRenzy, had become something unusual. A filmmaker who fought legal battles to protect the right to screen his own work, while simultaneously developing the production values that would set his films apart from everything else in the genre. His 1973 production Lady Freaks introduced a then unknown performer named Annette Haven. His 1976 film, Femmes de Sade, showed he could sustain genuine menace across a full feature. By 1977, he was ready to make his masterpiece. The concept for Babyface was immediately provocative. The film opens at the Champs, an all-female-run, all-male staff bordello where women are entirely in control and men exist purely to serve them. Every social assumption about power and desire completely reversed. Then the story flashes back to explain how Dan, a dock worker, played by real estate agent Dan Roberts, a personal friend of deRenzy's, with zero acting experience, ended up there. Dan seduces Priscilla, a teenager played by Lynn Cuddles Malone. When Priscilla's mother, Molly, discovers them, Priscilla cries rape. A shootout follows. Dan is left for dead, presumed drowned. He is rescued by two women who see an opportunity, and Dan finds himself bewildered but adapting inside the Champs establishment. The screenplay was written by John Mulligan, and it gave deRenzy exactly what he needed: a dark comic structure that allowed him to build real character relationships around the film's more explicit content. Dan makes friends, Dan finds his footing, and then someone whispers a warning about a woman named the Nutcracker. The cast deRenzy assembled around Roberts was extraordinary by any standard. Paul Thomas, Joey Silvera, John Leslie, Desiree West, Linda Wong, Amber Hunt, these were the most respected performers in the industry. But the film's two most memorable performances came from unexpected sources. Lynn Cuddles Malone had apparently never appeared in a film before Babyface and would never appear in one again. Yet her performance as Priscilla carries a genuine, unsettling naturalism that critics have never fully been able to explain. And then there was Molly Seagrim, a pseudonym taken directly from Henry Fielding's classic novel, Tom Jones. The actress behind that name held a master's degree in English literature, worked as a film editor at Bay Area Rapid Films, and had reportedly been brought in as a last-minute replacement after Marion Eaton, star of the cult classic Thundercrack, got cold feet and withdrew from the production. Her character, Priscilla's obsessive knife-wielding mother, is the film's real engine. Because Molly Seagrim doesn't disappear when Dan escapes, she hunts him down. And when she finds him, the finale is something nobody who sees it ever forgets. Here's what deRenzy understood that most filmmakers in his position didn't. The most effective shock in cinema is the one that is also, on some level, logical. Molly Seagrim's revenge on Dan doesn't come with a weapon, it comes with Saran wrap. An elaborate, bizarre, darkly comic sequence involving plastic sheeting that had audiences in 1977 not knowing whether to laugh or recoil and still provokes the same reaction today. This is the cinematic secret of Babyface. Not the inverted power structure, not the Alice in Wonderland concept, not even the extraordinary cast. It's the ending-specific, strange, and completely committed that separates this film from everything else being made in the same era. deRenzy also included a bonus short film, Parochial Passion Princess, which he shot himself, a self-contained work that appears on the Vinegar Syndrome restoration as a companion piece, showing another dimension of his filmmaking ambition entirely. He was not making product, he was building a body of work. Despite its ambitions, the original theatrical release of Babyface was heavily compromised by censorship across different markets. The sequences that gave the film its dark comic power were stripped out. Distributors in multiple territories demanded cuts. The version most audiences saw bore little resemblance to what deRenzy actually made. The original 35mm vault elements were considered lost for decades. In February 2017, Vinegar Syndrome released Babyface on Blu-ray, scanned and restored in 2K from those long-lost vault elements, fully uncut for the first time. The restoration team discovered water damage on the only surviving uncut print, but made the decision to preserve the film complete rather than cut around the damage. The bonus features included an extensive hour-long audio interview with Molly Seagrim, conducted by Vinegar Syndrome's Casey Scott, in which she discussed her master's degree, her editing career, the craft services consisting of only cookies and soda, and her genuine discomfort with Dan Roberts on set. History, finally, told correctly. Alex de Renzy went on to make Pretty Peaches in 1978, launching the career of Desiree West, who won the Adult Film Association of America Award for Best Actress that year. He was later inducted into both the AVN Hall of Fame and the XRCO Hall of Fame. He passed away on the 8th of June, 2001. In Los Angeles, a ship's captain, a pilot, a rancher, and one of the most technically accomplished filmmakers his era produced. Babyface won him the Adult Film Association of America Award for Best Director in 1977. 40 years later, fully restored, it finally proved why. Here's my question for you in the comments. Is Babyface a legitimate work of subversive social satire? Or does its reputation rely too heavily on shock value? Watch the restored cut and tell me what you think. Classic cinema never truly fades, its stories live on. If you love exploring the golden era of film, subscribe and join our journey through retro cinema history. We upload new stories every week, so don't miss the next Untold chapter. And don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below.